Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider, and we've got a unique show coming up for you here over the next 30 minutes or so. Portions of this show we already had finished before some big news this morning. Let's go through it. First of all, you're going to hear from Anson, Dorrance, the women's soccer coach here at Carolina. His squad meets up with Wake Forest tonight. First match of the season for them. First Olympic sport for Carolina to get underway. Also, Adam and I will go through the social drive coming up in a little bit. But of course, huge news this morning with the announcement that the Carolina-Charlotte football game scheduled for this upcoming Saturday at 3:30 unfortunately had to be canceled due to some low numbers available for Charlotte on the offensive line due to a COVID outbreak, contact tracing, etc. We have the athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, joining us here. And Bubba, busy morning, I know, for you. What's going on?
Busy and surprising. I happen to be in Coach Williams' office talking about the basketball schedule that was just recently not released, but how many games we could play, when we could start, from the NCAA Council last night, and got a text from Mike Hill. Said, boy, really sorry, but we cannot play. We don't have enough linemen. So we knew we weren't going to play all the games this year, and Coach Brown and the team obviously disappointed, but it was something we expected. We didn't know when, but we did expect something like this could happen.
And Bubba, kind of to that point, it feels like just flexibility is so important this season, that things are going to change and you have to be ready for it.
We've overused every cliche there is, but the change is imminent. We're going to have change. We're going to have unpredictability. And what we have to have is flexibility. And we have to have people that are willing to adjust to it. And our guys have been great. So it's disappointing, but we have an open date this week, and we're really working hard to get a game on the 26th.
How does that work on short notice? I can't imagine you've ever scheduled a football game in 10 days.
I have not, and I had to respond to an AD today who said, we can come tomorrow and play Saturday. One day prep for a team did not really seem like a great idea. So we decided, no, we're going to shoot for next week. I've never done that before, but Rick Steinbacher has done a terrific job. Dave Brown, who used to be with ESPN, is a master scheduler. There is a scheduling database that shows everybody that's available with an open date on the 26th. So we're combing through that right now, seeing if we can find a game for the 26th.
Bubba, Carolina, of course, has had one game on campus, Tar Heels defeating Syracuse last Saturday in Chapel Hill. Now that you've had a little time to look back on how that operation went, how did you feel like that day in very unique circumstances went?
It was unique. I think it went really well. Obviously, it was the first time that we have televised a game through a linear broadcast, and congratulations to the staff here in the studio in getting that done. But logistically with the team, it was everything we had hoped for. The music was there, the crowd noise was there, the smoke when they came out the tunnel, the atmosphere, everything except the people. And that was a little bit disappointing, but we won the game, and we're just going to have to get used to it. It felt a little bit like a scrimmage. It was disappointed we only had 25 parents there, but you know, that's what it is. So as I mentioned flexibility earlier, we're all have to adjust to the new normal.
You mentioned the new normal. Is there a timeline for knowing what the normal might be for the next month, or as we've seen today, is that just a day-by-day situation?
It's day by day, you know. And again, I think the state, the Department of Health and Human Services, the county, everyone's doing their best to continue to reopen the state safely. And sure, I'd like to have it this way. Someone else wants it that way. It's not going to work to everyone's pleasure every time. So we hope that the next time we hear an update, we'll be able to have more people in. And when we are able to, we will.
Bubba, you mentioned basketball, and of course the news yesterday that the season would begin as far as the NCAA, that November 25th was the first day that games could begin, and there was also some notes in there about how many games you could play. What was your reaction to that, and what are the steps now for Carolina?
Well, we were hoping for a flat number. And so now with the MTEs, you're allowed to have 25 games if you don't have an MTE, a multi-team event. We are scheduled to play in the Maui Invitational, which I don't think will be in Maui. They're going to announce another location here shortly. So we could potentially play 24 games scheduled, plus the MTE, which would be 3. So we could get to 27 if that schedule works out. As I mentioned, I was in Coach Williams' office, and so he and Clint Clint Waltney are really working hard to develop a basketball schedule. It does appear that we're going to play 20 games as an ACC conference schedule. We also have the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and so we also have the CBS Classic where we're playing UCLA. So those are games that are on the docket. Now we have to try to manage the other games and see what happens with the Maui Invitational. Hopefully all those will work out and we'll get to 27 games.
Bubba, just one more thing before we let you go, and appreciate you joining us here. I know it's a busy day for you. Big announcement also yesterday with the Big Ten saying that it would try to play an 8-game schedule coming up in the fall as well for football. I'd just be interested in your thoughts on that and watching that from afar.
Well, it's interesting. You know, there's been some criticism that they weren't playing. There's criticism that they are playing. And that's one of the challenges that we have. And I'm not sure if we've talked about this or not, but higher education is designed where you have a lot of autonomy to make decisions. It starts with academic freedom. You have faculty governance. You don't have a national organization that drives higher ed. You have regional accrediting agencies. We have a national association for athletics. We have regional conferences for athletics. And so everybody has a hand in the decision-making process. And at times like this, it really looks awkward. But it's really designed the way we all want it. We all want independent decision-making. So right, wrong, or indifferent, we've designed it this way. Everyone gets to make their choices. I'm delighted that our league has really stuck together. Football, now basketball, our Olympic sports. And I think that John Swafford has done a really good job making sure that we all stay aligned. And I really like where we are. We're trying to play. It's not perfect. We see that coming this week. And I really feel for the folks in the Big Ten because they've been up and down as well.
Bubba, would you like anything else on your plate right now? Anything else that you'd like to try and manage at the moment?
Well, I'm really glad we're not in Louisiana. My heart goes out to those folks in the Gulf Shores, but who knows? We'll continue to deal with everything that's ahead of us.
All right, we're going to jump to an interview now. We did this interview with Coach Dorrance and our social drive a little bit earlier, so you'll notice Adam and I aren't even wearing the same clothes. That's just the magic of television. But let's get to our conversation with the head coach of Carolina's women's soccer program, Anson Dorrance.
Today's interview is definitely one of those we just completely take for granted at the University of North Carolina. You just get to hop on the old internet and converse with someone who's one of the best in the world at what they do. We are not talking about pickleball. We're talking about women's soccer coaching. Anson Dorrance, who has won everything there is to win in the world of women's soccer. And tonight, he finally gets to play a game with his Tar Heels. Coach Dorrance, how excited are you that we have finally made it to game day?
Well, I'm absolutely excited, and I'm thrilled the Atlantic Coast Conference decided to have a season because obviously there are other conferences out there that pulled back and decided not to go. And I know this is a leadership decision at the highest level for all of us, and I want to thank my chancellor, Kevin, and my athletic director, Bubba, for sort of giving us this gift because there are teams on the West Coast that are wonderful rivals of ours that have completely closed down, where the kids have gone home. And some of the schools are not even training anymore. So I just want to thank my leadership and also the people that are guiding us with science on how to stay safe. So I am just so grateful.
Coach, how have you tried to manage your team over the last few weeks and months with so much uncertainty, whether or not we were going to get to this point? What was the messaging? Just how did you try and handle all that?
Well, honestly, I have to give full credit to Brandy Schwain, my trainer. She is our Dr. Fauci, and she was the one that helped us design a closed bubble. And honestly, since the preseason began, we haven't had one positive test, knock on wood. And all of us know that are involved in fighting against this pandemic know that even without any sort of poor choices, someone on the team can catch it. And then obviously we're in a spiral into losing players, and then, of course, we're all in trouble. And I just want to credit her and my leadership, but also Larry Gallo, who's been fantastic in trying to help us with the dorm situations, to put us in a position where we're going to keep our kids safe. And so for me, I just owe a lot of credit to the leadership around this team, and certainly to Brandy and Larry for their hard work to help us stay safe.
One of the things that's made you so successful is it feels like you're always trying to learn new things. What have you learned about communicating with your team over these last 6 or so months when maybe you haven't always been able to do it the way you normally would?
Honestly, I am now a fan of Zoom. I know that's, sacrilege in the age of pandemic when all of us are on Zoom calls where, we want to eventually shoot ourselves in the head. But I am now a fan of Zoom. And here's what I love about it. First of all, obviously it's safe. But also, if we can get everyone not to put their favorite picture of themselves up on the screen and seeing their faces, it's actually rather connective. And we've done our book clubs through it. We've done all kinds of meetings with our players through it. As soon as the pandemic hit, we were meeting with them once a week, every Monday. And honestly, it's a wonderful tool. And it's now a part of the way we are going to start to communicate, not just with our players, but with our recruits. And it's been a very positive sort of growth period for all of us that have adjusted to Zoom. And obviously, there is a point in some of the calls where you are just frustrated that you're not meeting face to face. But honestly, it's been an excellent tool for us. It's been a way for us to stay connected. And we've benefited from this extraordinary new technology that we're using consistently that we never would have used without this pandemic. So I don't think it's changed us in a negative way. Obviously, I think the experience for our freshmen coming in, that we're expecting college to be a certain kind of experience, are sort of robbed of that experience. And I really feel for the freshmen, but the upperclassmen have adapted quickly and easily. The freshmen are the only ones that I think are still navigating. And what they're navigating is not just the new technology that we're using and the exercises that we have to do to stay safe, but they're navigating the fact that this is not what they thought college was going to be.
How have you handled to that point, maybe the mental side of things with your team? How is your group providing support for your young women to make sure that outside of just the physical side that they're doing okay?
Well, you know what? In the old days, a lot of these young women have dogs as pets. And of course, we wouldn't allow any dogs to come to practice because there's nothing worse than all of a sudden you're in the middle of practice and then this dog is sprinting across the pitch, disrupting everything you're doing. But, just like I guess we've all discovered the value of, what a dog will do for you. It loves you unconditionally. It doesn't know we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so now what's happening, if you come to a typical practice or a weekend scrimmage, you see 7 or 8 dogs, scattered among the entire team. And they're almost like, these recovery animals. If a girl's feeling particularly down, she'll run up to one of the dogs and give it a hug. The dog will obviously not realize we're in the middle of this pandemic. And heck, they don't even realize that they might be susceptible to this. But they are, unconditionally loving animals. And so I think the biggest change is we now allow dogs at practice and dogs at our scrimmages. And so some aspects of our training environment has changed to a degree.
When the Tar Heels take the field tonight against NC State, watch out for that golden retriever in the midfield. Really athletic. You mentioned recruiting. That's something that every single sport at Carolina has had to deal with. When one of your best sales tactics is getting prospects on campus, and then you're not allowed to do that for a long period of time, how have you worked around that? And have you talked to any of the other head coaches and sort of shared some ideas about the best ways to do that?
Well, thank you for letting me address this. I've got to give full credit to Damon Nahas and Chris Dukar. These are our point people in recruiting. Before we hired Damon, we used to recruit in classical fashions, bringing kids onto campus, and we never used to run ID camps because our ID camp was basically our summer camp. But with Damon aboard, who's used to coaching youth players and seeing them go to these ID camps all over the country, he jumped aboard, and all of a sudden we've got this fabulous ID camp system. And we are in wonderful shape through 2023. Wow. So whenever the athletic director or our SWA asks me about, well, do we want to continue to extend the dead period? I say absolutely. Why? Because we're done through 2023. I don't mind extending the dead period all the way through 2024. Why? Because we're in absolutely phenomenal shape. And we have absolutely no issue with where we are, with the fact that no one's visiting us because our classes are complete. We've spent the scholarship money, and we're in just fabulous shape. We're tweaking, a class or two here or there. But we're in such good shape, and I give full credit to Damon and Chris, and also to this new methodology we have of recruiting through our 3 ID camps. One usually in August, obviously that was closed down. One in February, which is a very active camp for us, and then one in April. So even though right now we haven't had the luxury and opportunity to have these ID camps going, because we've done them before the pandemic hit, we have been put in such a wonderful position, and we feel absolutely spoiled with the fact that we're in just great recruiting shape right now, right through 2023.
Let everybody else deal with that. Tar Heels are good to go until 2023. Coach, tell us a little bit about the 2020 Tar Heels. Of course, this is a team that's been right on the cusp of a national championship the last 2 seasons. I also know you've had a couple of your top players who elected to go ahead to professional ranks due to what was going on. Just what kind of feel do you have for this upcoming group?
Yeah, obviously, we've lost 3 wonderful players. 2 of them were All-Americans. I think one of them was a first-team All-American, Alessia Russo. She was our starting 9, our center forward. Most people will say, that's the millionaire position. Usually those are the positions that the people make the most money in, because scoring goals is probably the greatest challenge in our game. So we lost Alessia. She signed with her childhood dream team, Manchester United, with a very nice paycheck. We also lost Lotte Wubben-Moy, who signed with her youth dream team, the Arsenal, back in England. We had no issues with sending them back. In fact, in my conversations with them, I told them if we didn't have a national championship in the fall, we were going to recommend that those 2, and also Lois Joel, another English player that has professional opportunities to go home, sign contracts, and play with the obviously extraordinary Women's Super League fall and spring seasons. They've all taken me up on that, and trust me, it was a great move for them. Are we a little bit weaker without them? Absolutely. You can't lose players of that caliber and not suffer a little bit. But I'll tell you this, that 2020 class we brought in is laced with talent. We're certainly going to give any team a fight, thanks to that recruiting class, and certainly the returning players that we have coming back for our team. And this team, of course, as you gentlemen know, has been in the national championship final the last 2 years, and we certainly have a lot of returning talent. We only graduated 1 starter that left to sign a pro contract and basically to graduation last year in Bridget Andrzejewski. But we've got the rest of the team returned. It's a nice team. We're going to give, as I said, anyone a fight. So we're not disappointed in anything that's going on. And just like with Roy, when one of his elite athletes wants to sign a pro contract early, he embraces them, even though, of course, as you guys know, all the alumni are so furious. They feel deserted by this player, as if, this player's got to continue to study, sociology and communications when he's got a multi-million-dollar check waiting for him. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's insane, the sort of abuse a player gets, or Roy gets, when he encourages these kids to go. No, we have a moral imperative to basically look after these kids that select us as their mentors and as their school of choice. And so I have no issue with the 3 British players that went home. We encouraged it, and we're going to be in fine shape with the 2020 class. We've got 3 of those kids starting for us already, with a 4th and a 5th possibility within a year or 2. So we're very, very pleased with where we are, but also where we think we can go.
You mentioned the book club that you did through Zoom with your team this time. You always pick very interesting books. What's the most recent book you read with the team, and what did everybody get out of it?
Well, obviously, with George Floyd and all the issues that are going on nationally with Black Lives, we selected a Kendi book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. That was the book that everyone on the team had to read, and that was the only book where everyone on the team had to attend that book club meeting. I sort of ran a Socratic method of going through the book, and it was just a wonderful experience for our kids, because obviously this is a huge issue that all of us are challenged by in this country. And I think George Floyd brought this thing to the fore in a very positive way, with obviously a very horrible and tragic moment. But I think those sorts of things happening across the country are things that athletes are certainly connected with. in a very positive way. I think they get to make a wonderful statement about what athletics is all about, because there are no athletic teams out there that have any quality that aren't extraordinarily diverse. And so as a result, I think our culture might be the culture to help change this aspect of the American landscape. So I'm proud of the kids. They all wanted to jump in with Kendi and his extraordinary book. So that was one of them. The seniors read The Second Mountain. And so here we are. We're going to have a certain kind of balance within the program, because David Brooks, the author of The Second Mountain, is a classical conservative. So we don't want to preach from one voice. And his book, The Second Mountain, is extraordinary. I think the seniors really appreciated that. We also had some balance with the senior class, because they also read David Foster Wallace's This Is Water, which in my opinion is the most extraordinary commencement address I've ever read in my life. And I'm one of these guys, believe it or not, that reads commencement addresses. I always read the commencement address for the people that speak here at the University of North Carolina. Obviously, I'm very proud of the speakers we bring in. But I'll tell you, David Foster Wallace's This Is Water is one of the great commencement addresses. It was hand to glove with The Second Mountain, so that's what the seniors addressed. The freshmen came in with You Thrive, which is a Daniel Lerner book. Daniel's a friend of mine. He teaches at New York University about how to come in and survive your freshman year, and it's an extraordinary book for freshmen. The sophomores and juniors bounce between Carly Lloyd's book about her experiences of fighting her way onto the national team. We also read The Talent Code, Atomic Habits, and other books in that ilk to try to prepare them to get to their dreams as national team players or as professionals. So every class has a different kind of book to read. And honestly, I love the book clubs. We've done them forever. In the winter and spring, the freshmen read Hiram Smith's The 10 Natural Laws of Successful Time and Life Management, because obviously one of the main challenges for a freshman is time management. The sophomores read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then the juniors read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Obviously, our seniors are free. Most of them have graduated in the spring, so those are the 3 books our classes read then. And the first 2 books I talked about in the off season are basically biblical principles secularized. I'm a Mormon, and so those books are basically books that are the Bible secularized, because Hiram Smith is a leading Mormon, so is Stephen Covey. And so basically my kids get a wonderful version of the Bible just through secular principles that are basically biblical. And so for me, these are great ways to teach people to lead principle-centered lives. And that's our methodology in helping them develop extraordinary character and get to their human potential.
I think that phone call was us telling us that we're out of time here on the show. Coach, great to be with you as always. Again, the Tar Heels, just a 10-game season and then an ACC championship this year for the Tar Heels. That starts tonight at 7 o'clock in Chapel Hill. Coach, great to be with you as always. Thank you for your time and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Jones and Adam, thank you. I always enjoy my connection with both of you.
Adam, if there is one thing we learned from the Anson Dorrance interview is that you better get to reading, sir, because the women's soccer program is way ahead of you.
The indisputable thing we learned is the women's soccer entire program is better read than me. They're currently reading 6 books at one time. I was going for 1. They're reading basically all the books at the library.
All right, let's get from that to our social drive. Adam's going to guide us in as we take a look around social media as it pertains to the Tar Heels. Adam, we'll start with a tweet from Carolina football. Now, Daz Newsome had a little trouble early in the game against Syracuse, muffed a punt, but then was pretty explosive after that. And in a team meeting after the game, Mac Brown added some unique sound effects to Dad's punt return ability.
If you get 5 in the open, he has a chance now.
I really like the laugh that. And Daz Newsome ended up with a terrific punt return day. 15.5 yards per return through 1 week of action for the league. That's second in the conference and fifth best in the country, Adam, for Daz Newsome.
It's funny every time.
Yeah, it really
Every
is.
time I watch that, it's funny. And it was such a unique situation because the Tar Heels, after the game, did not go into the locker room. Coach Brown addressed the team on the Kenan Stadium field. So Jones and I were up in the radio booth. I wasn't doing anything, but Jones was doing the radio. And we could hear Coach Brown talking, and we could, more importantly, hear all the team laughing. And now we know why, because Coach Brown was putting sound effects on Daz Newsome's sweet moves.
All right, we asked through the audio podcast, and you can always listen, called The Carolina Insider. Find that anywhere that you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina_pod. Adam, we asked for fans to send us some pictures of how they watched the Syracuse game, because of course no fans in Kenan Stadium, and Adam, the fans delivered. We got a lot of great photos.
They did. A lot of creativity here.
All right, let's start off this one. Lauren Porter and her crew just went ahead full out tailgate on campus.
That's good work. They've got the sign. It appears to be some good looking food.
Have to admit, this next photo, pretty jealous of what looks to be a pretty sweet outdoor man cave. Josh Halsey and his son, they've got some beverages, they've got the hot tub, they've got the wet bar, they've got the TV. Adam, this is, maybe we should go hang out with Josh sometime.
Yeah, Josh said that's in Todd, North Carolina. So we have Google mapped that, and we're going to try to swing by there and do all future pods from right there.
Now, you may have seen there were cutouts of Tar Heel fans that you could purchase that were in the seats in Kenan. Candace Morgan did so, and Candace Morgan found herself on TV while watching.
Good eyes right there. Clearly, Candace, a longtime pod listener, spotted that one right away, and we know the cutouts were there because she's proven it to us.
Alan Huffman. Alan and his family could not watch the game. They had some do-it-yourself home projects to take care of, but Alan, who you see here wearing his nice Go Where You Go, Do What You Do Woody Durham shirt, listened to the game on the Tar Heel Sports Network, and Adam, they turned that yellow room into something much better.
Alan says they're not quite done yet, but they're making good progress. I like the Argyle setup, and I'm looking forward to seeing that when it's finished. Alan said he'd send us a picture.
All right.
And also, don't mess with the paint roller that's going on right there, Jones. She looks like she thinks you've got some mischief in mind, and she's not putting up with it.
Yeah, this was serious business at the Huffman household. 2 more to go. Billy Stanton sent this photo. Not sure how much of the first game of that Billy Stanton's son was able to see, but game number 1 for young Mr. Stanton there.
Billy said that once he put the football in his son's hands, the offense really took off. So clearly that is what caused the Tar Heels to win.
And finally, and Adam, this one may bring up more questions than answers, but here's Cheryl McElvey with a cutout of Dave Matthews wearing a Tar Heel shirt. I think that's how they watched the game.
What's the question?
The question is, why aren't we all following the Instagram account Adventures with Flat Dave? Because clearly there's some hot content there. This social drive isn't done. These ants are going to keep marching forward, Adam, and that is with a little mini pat on the back and what up to Go Heels Productions. You can see here on this tweet from Bubba Cunningham laying it out that the game on Saturday, the Syracuse game, was the first ever college football game produced on an ESPN network using a university control room. The folks here at Go Heels Productions heavily involved in that, so big congratulations to them. What an undertaking for them to put that one on.
And I think the fact that if you were watching at home, you really couldn't tell the difference speaks to what a good job they did, because it was exactly the professional production that you're accustomed to.
Let's go from college football to professional football. And Adam, Mitch Trubisky, a big year for him as the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And he and Chicago found themselves down to Detroit this past Sunday, but a big fourth quarter comeback that concluded with what a pass by Mitch Trubisky for what turned out to be the game winner. Let's take a look.
That's all part of it. First down. And there's the long pass to Miller. And Miller is there. And it's a touchdown. Anthony Miller, who has made 2 brilliant catches
Trubisky
today.
to Anthony Miller for the go-ahead touchdown. Chicago ends up winning that game, and great to see Mitch having success in what is certainly an important year for him.
And a fantastic throw by Trubisky on what was essentially the game winner. Bears play the Giants this weekend as they try to go 2-0.
From pro football to pro basketball, and Adam, a big congratulations to Kobe White, named second team All-NBA on the rookie side of things, so all rookie second team for the NBA, and certainly well-deserved. Kobe had a terrific first season, and I know everybody's rooting for him anyway, but if you just need some help to know that, Kobe White's about as good a dude as there is, so great to see him have success.
Not a coincidence that the first comment on that post from Lil Jerb, if you know, you know.
Garrison Brooks and Sean May. And oh, by the way, that little stat right there at the bottom of that graphic, Carolina has had more all-rookie team selections than any other school at the NBA level. Adam, our final note here on the Social Drive comes from Ryan Cook. Ryan, like so many folks during this quarantine period, has had some tough times, had a little extra time on his hands, and so what better way to fill some of that time by putting together an incredible coffee tabletop that will now be proudly displayed in his home.
That's an unbelievable job by Ryan. And Jones's autograph is on the top left corner.
Yeah, devalued it a little bit, yes.
That's a puzzle in the middle that Ryan assembled during the quarantine period, and then he utilized all his various tickets and pictures from Tar Heel games he's attended around the outside, and Ryan will now be receiving lots of calls from friends and fans who want him to do something very similar for their coffee tables.
That's really cool. He said he and his wife are moving into a new home soon, and that will be prominently displayed in what he termed as the man cave in his house. We got a lot of man caves in the show. Got the outdoor man cave by Josh. We got the sweet coffee table by Ryan, so you guys are doing it right. Adam, I don't know if we've done it right, but we've done it. We're through another show.
Before we go, would like to issue a formal apology, Jones.
Need to.
To you.
I'm pretty disappointed.
And to you. Last week's show, I incorrectly used the word drip.
That's all I've been thinking about since then.
Well, I got a lot of flack, mostly at my house. But drip, Jones, as you know, means your chains. Your ice, as we used to call it back in the day. It doesn't mean your clothes or anything like that. It just means your chains. So I want you to keep that in mind, Jones. I will keep that in mind myself. I apologize that I misused that word, and I will only use it correctly in the future. I'm glad we've cleared up this important world topic.
We're going to drip on out of here. Thanks for being here with us on another edition of Carolina Insider Live.
See you later, Big Grit.